the final stretch of Web Summit 2023. It is my pleasure to be your host this afternoon, the final stretch. But first of all, how great was Sevilla and this morning's speakers? Was anyone here this morning? Let's give them another round of applause. Yeah? How great were they? Amazing. So look guys, I know that this is typically known as the graveyard slot, okay? It's the afternoon, it's the last day of Web Summit, but I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. This is my first time hosting the stage at Web Summit, so I'm gonna bring the energy. I need you guys with me, okay? So can I get a whoop? Yeah? Can I get 10x returns? 10x returns! Come on guys, come on. It's the final stretch, it's the final stretch. Can I get a unicorn? Alright, finally, can I get a pastéis de nada? Yeah, thank you! We got one person who was amazing. Okay. So I haven't even done my intro yet. My name is Stephanie Melodia, and I'm the co-founder of Bomba, which is an international creative studio dedicated to helping startups and scale-ups build their brands. So if anyone's interested in talking about their brand, come and find me or my very stylish co-founder who should be in the audience somewhere today. Okay, so that's my plug. Thank you so much for being here. Now I'm pleased to present the first talk of this afternoon's sessions, the future of urban air mobility. Whether it's a short hop across a congested city or a regional flight across the country, the future of transportation is electric and on demand. To learn all about the coming revolution in eVTOLs, please welcome from CGTN, Simon Ormiston, and the CEO of Volocopter, Dirk Hoker. Let's give them a round, guys. Woo!
Ready?
Yeah.
Thanks, Steph. A lot of energy there. So, over the past decade, flying cars have grown from a billionaire's dream to a realistic goal. There are now over 300 companies developing what are known as electrical vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Today, we're going to take an in-depth look at one German firm called Volocopter. Before we do, let's check out their video.
Unfortunately, it's not yet fully updated because we finished on Monday our US roadshow. We flew in 6 weeks in 4 cities, Dallas, Las Vegas, Tampa, and last Monday, 3 days ago, we flew in New York and Manhattan.
There we go. Thanks, you've done the first question for me. I mean, electric aircraft, one thing. Vertical takeoff for electrically generated vehicles is another. So how big a challenge was that?
I think if you want to be flexible, you need to have vertical takeoff and landing. But of course, this is the most power consuming part of it, the takeoff and the landing. We demonstrated that with the founders already in 2011 when they created the first eVTOL flying on a yoga ball just to demonstrate that the multi-copter concept can be implemented 2011, 12 years ago. And we're now building the 6th generation of aircraft. So it took us a long time to get now to the final line towards certification.
We've just seen from the video there that you plan to roll out 3 models. Can you just give us a quick snapshot about those 3 models and who they're aimed at? Sorry, can you hear me? I was saying in the video we saw that there were 3 models that you plan to roll out. Can you just give us a snapshot of those and who they're aimed at?
Yeah, I think that's different than all the other companies developing eVTOLs decided to develop a family of aircraft. One is what you just saw, which we also flew now in the US. It's a multi-copter design. It's really designed for flying in an urban environment, short-haul flights, very quiet, very safe, fully redundant systems, everything that's safety critical, and of course fully sustainable. Then we say to connect cities and bring people into the city outskirts, you need a different aircraft. We call that lift and cruise. So we have lift motors and push motors. Again, nothing moving because that's always difficult to handle. And this will fly starting 27, 28. It will fly 1 pilot, 4 passengers, and fly up to 200 kilometers in 1 hour. So this will connect cities. And the third one is a cargo drone carrying up to 150 kilo payload. We're currently developing the next generation of prototype. It will be used for applications like vessel to shore, shore to vessel, or also servicing wind farms in offshore, for example.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit about the infrastructure that's going to be needed for some of those types of models you're talking about? Because clearly you're going to need some external support.
Yeah, I think for us it was important that we can use all the existing infrastructure, like existing heliports, and then almost that it can be easily to add additional vertiports, including charging infrastructure. So at the beginning we do battery swapping, so we're very flexible. We have charging containers and storage containers, and we swap the batteries so that we can reduce the time on the ground to fly again. Infrastructure-wise, we also we concentrate all our designs to fit on the existing heliports. In Europe, the heliports are standardized on 15 meters diameter, and so all our vehicles, the full family, always fits into a 15-meter radius, 15-meter diameter.
Okay, why have Volocopter betted on vertical takeoff aircraft?
Because if you want to support applications in cities, you cannot build a runway to fly an aircraft in a city. So you need to be flexible, and the vertical takeoff gives you the flexibility to apply that within city limits everywhere. It's also for safety, because even if you have all the redundant system, you need to be able to land. If you have a fixed-wing aircraft, I'm a fixed-wing aircraft pilot, when you have a failure, you need to look for a place where you can land. And with our aircraft, it's absolutely safe. You always find a spot. For Paris, for example, we have along the tracks that we will fly, there are already defined emergency landing points that we always can reach, even if the batteries are at the end of the runway.
On my way over here, not in one of your vehicles yet, I was talking to a gentleman who said he wanted to know 3 things about your product: safety, safety, and safety. Clearly, it's going to be a big challenge for you, for your future potential customers.
So this, and I fully support that statement, we will never sacrifice on safety. I think aviation has demonstrated over more than 100 years that it is the safest modality applied so far, and of course we want to protect that reputation. What we have as a certification standard is the same safety level as an Airbus aircraft, a commercial aircraft. It means that we can have only a critical failure every 1 billion operating hours. 1 billion operating hours, which means never. That means also a lot of barriers for the certification, because all the critical systems need to be redundant. So we have 18 motors. We need to demonstrate that we can lose several motors and that we can still safely land. We have to demonstrate that mechanical problems at the motor cannot lead to a disastrous mistake. So we have a double shaft to construct. We have 2 different software suppliers, so that we, if there would be a software bug, still can handle the aircraft. All the battery packs are fully redundant. Within the battery pack, we have to demonstrate that we are safe against thermal runway propagation tests, So we have to explode a cell and demonstrate that it will not propagate to the other cells. And we just passed that successfully, so we're now entitled to use these batteries for manned flight.
You mentioned earlier that you're looking at cities that maybe cannot build metro systems, etc. Where are you targeting first and why?
So let's look forward to next year. We will go into certification. We still believe we will be the first company globally that will be certified by EASA and then by FAA. With that, we are then entitled to go with a type certified vehicle, and we have also created an airline. We prepare for the training of the pilots, and we can operate that vehicle, so we plan to go into service next year in Paris and then in Rome shortly afterwards. So that's a big challenge for a small company like ours.
Okay. Let's talk about sustainability next.
Yeah.
One of the claims about your product will ease congestion. Some may say you're just making more congestion in the sky.
I think it's an interesting argument, because I heard that several times, that people saying you're not replacing anything. That's true. We never intended to replace anything. We wanted to offer additional modality options that will ease our life in a daily commuter. We know that in cities it will continue to be a problem. We have not enough space. Cars are used 12% of the usable time. We know in all other areas we move from owning things to a shared economy, to having access to something, everything as a service. And the same thing has to apply, be it for cars in the future or be it for our vehicles. It has to be accessible to everyone, and it has to be a shared economy. Otherwise, it's just our planet doesn't have enough resources. And in cities, since 2007, we have more than half of the population living in cities, moving towards 70%. But as you probably have seen yesterday evening in Lisbon during peak hours, you have the average speed of walking. And that's the time that you spend and that you every day lose in commuting from work to home and back or to dinner is amazing. And we can at least help to relieve that a bit. We cannot replace a mass transportation system, but we also have to be realistic. We cannot everywhere build a metro system. In many cities there's not enough space to have a separate bus line. So we will need the third dimension to ease traffic in cities.
Okay. Is it completely carbon neutral?
During flight, of course, we have no emission, but at the end you have to look at the full carbon footprint. And this is something we do. We will, over time, also make sure that our whole supply chain is carbon neutral. But as a beginning, the company, of course, we have a lot of other restrictions, but we are already in discussion with our suppliers towards carbon neutrality. We also talk with our cell provider. They are planning to open a gigafactory that will be 100% supported by renewable energy, and they will also look at the full circular economy for the cells, including the full recycling of the battery cells. So this is definitely the pathway. We have to ensure that we don't only claim to be sustainable, but that we demonstrate that along the whole supply chain.
Okay, looking a bit further ahead, I mean, how do you make sure it is accessible to more people, and it's accessible not just in the affluent cities?
I think at the beginning the problem will be demand is much bigger than supply, because we will have only a few roads and we will have a few vehicles at the demand already today. If I see how many people approach me in Turk, if you start flying Paris, can you get me a ticket? Yeah. So once we fly, the price will be accessible. And I think that's a critical question. If it's a price point where everyone says it's the same as a helicopter, it remains a very niche. If we look at the balance of scale, once we go into the production of a few hundreds, we already see the vehicles will be very affordable. And also, what is the comparison to a helicopter? The maintenance costs are only the friction, the same as you see on the automotive case. The EVs, the maintenance costs are much lower than the traditional combustion engine cars. Same is happening to our vehicles. Okay. So maintenance, operating costs much lower, and we will also be able to scale down the price very fast using also new production methods, not always like an aerospace, but rather in a mix with the automotive practice.
For those of us who don't fly by helicopter very often, what are we talking about numbers-wise? What is going to be an accessible ticket price for you guys?
Now we have a big debate with our partners. What would be a price for Paris? And you heard in different statements, different pricing. I think the price will be somewhere 10 to 13, 10 to 15 euros per kilometer at the beginning. This is also due because at the beginning we only have a pilot and one seater, but end of 26 we will come into the market with a four-seater, then we have 3 paying passengers, and this will reduce the price and also the operating cost drastically.
Okay, in the city I work, London, we're talking probably 15 miles from east to west,
yeah.
So 150 euros, the sort of price you're aiming at?
Yeah, look, this would be at the beginning, and then I think before the end of the decade we will reach a price where we rather target 3 to 4 euro per kilometer and passenger, and that's a bit more expensive than an Uber or taxi, so it will be accessible. And this will continue to decrease that over time. But also there will be a dynamic pricing. If the demand is much higher than the supply, as you see also on Uber pricing or taxi pricing, it will fluctuate.
2 more questions for me. I presume you will need partners in this?
Yes.
Not just financial partners, but also air traffic control support, etc. Can you tell us a bit about what you're looking for?
So our target is not to be an operator of our aircrafts. We do that at the beginning in order to enable that we have a smooth ramp up of the operation. But then we will work with airlines and operators like Bristow that have proven to be reliable, that will also be working with us closely for the training of the pilots, getting to know the vehicle, optimizing the maintenance. So we will work along the value chain with partners, be it for operation, be it for maintenance, be it for training. And all these partnerships are currently already existing or building up right now.
Okay, lastly, at the end of the video there, you mentioned look out for us at Paris 2024. Big year in Europe, the Olympics. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's our big dream, and you go and see that we have in our kitchen a clock counting back towards summer next year, because of course, this would be the perfect use case if we can demonstrate that we can fly next summer already with a commercial license. In any case, the fallback it would be that we would fly with a special permit, but of course for us, the team works very hard to get to certification, and with that being able to operate the vehicle commercially already summer next year in Paris.
Why Paris?
Paris, first of all, the president himself wanted to, already a few years ago, launch the idea of showing the innovation background of Europe during the French Olympics, and he came up with the idea of showing a new urban air mobility use case. A lot of things happened and a lot of companies tried, but I think we're the last one having a chance to demonstrate that kind of service at that time. And then also, Paris is not a helicopter-friendly city. There's a big no-fly zone, mostly because of safety and noise level reason. Our vehicle is a friction of the noise level, so if we would land the vehicle there, we could still continue to talk like we do now. And this will allow us to fly into the no-fly zone in Paris. So along the 5 routes that have been announced during the Paris Air Show, one is leading into the center of Paris, right beside the railway station of Austerlitz, and we would be landing there on a pontoon. And this is the no-fly zone, so it would be the first flight into the no-fly zone.
Amazing.
And why that? Because if we can fly in Paris, we believe we can fly anywhere in the world, because there's a high resistance against these kind of vehicles.
Amazing. Look forward to that. Before we go, I've got something to tell you about. If you're interested in this sort of stuff, CGTN Europe's weekly science and tech show, Razor, features Velocopter in this week's episode. We're taking a deeper look into the future of air mobility. Here's what's coming up on the show.
Electrification is beginning to transform the way we get around cities on the ground. But all over the world, the race is on to take to the sky. Over the past decade, flying cars have grown from a dream for billionaires to to a realistic goal. In a few years' time, the skies above us could look very different.
Look out for that. We're also on TikTok and YouTube. Look for Razor Science Show. Big thank you to Dirk Holt, CEO of Volocopter. And thank you for listening.
Thanks, Simon.
How fascinating was that talk with Dirk Holler, the CEO of Volocopter. I, for one, am very reassured to hear that the mode of